Hey loves, it's Britt, and in this video, I'm talking about Venus opposite to Saturn in Synastry. I'm surprised I haven't done this one yet. This is a very eerie karmic aspect to see in your synastry. It definitely gives a strong feeling of fatedness for both people where we see each other and we just feel like ding ding ding, like this person, there's something to work out here. Sometimes it can feel a bit scary, not so scary like a Pluto contact, but it definitely can bring up a lot of insecurity in both people. So, the Venus person, while being attracted to the Saturn person, can also feel like over time that the Saturn person's influence is very disheartening. So, with all Venus Saturn contacts, actually, Saturn is the more cool or sometimes cold expression of love, where they do care, but they end up expressing that in ways that can make the Venus person feel insecure or even shut down their heart. So, an example would be like the Venus person. Venus can be how we dress or like our femininity, right? So the Venus person like puts on an outfit and goes to show the Saturn person, and the Saturn person responds like, wow, you're gonna wear that? Like, that's scandalous, or that's, you know, um, you look too like you're trying to show off, or it's like the Saturn can come off with judgment when it's because they care, but it's just how they express that they care can feel very judgy to Venus. And I mean, in that scenario, in that example, like obviously the Saturn person is reacting out of their own fear and insecurity, right? So you have to look at the Saturn person's Saturn and how do they express that? Like, are they a very heavy Saturnian dominant person or Capricorn energy? Then they're going to have more of that coldness towards Venus. Or if their Saturn is, not as strong, then, they're not going to feel so hard on Venus, right? Like, and so, for example, I always use this like, my Saturn is in Pisces. So my Saturn doesn't come down really hard on someone's planets when I have my Saturn in a hard aspect to someone's planet, because Saturn in Pisces is not a very harsh Saturn. It's actually, I mean, it's not necessarily weak, but it's not a very like structured energy. So, the way that my Saturn would judge someone's planet is probably like, guiding them to spiritual growth, or, to inhibit emotional escapism, or negative addictions and things like that. So it's not going to be like super judgy in other ways, but that's kind of the realm of my Saturn and Pisces in the 12th house, is like getting people to get real around their addictions, their escapism, and deal with their emotional things, right? So you have to look at the Saturn person's Saturn to see the energy that they're kind of towering over the Venus person with, because there's certain placements that will feel better than other placements, right? But with this aspect in general, the Venus person can definitely feel that the Saturn person is a cool or even cold or restrictive influence on them. And the Saturn person can feel like the Venus person is very beautiful and very romantic and loving, but they can also, judge them for being too carefree or too flirtatious or too, um, yeah, extravagant, maybe. Like Saturn person in this contact is usually going to be like the more conservative energy, and they can kind of judge the Venus person for being like, yeah, there could be differences with this aspect with spending money as well, where usually the Venus person will be judged for how careless they are or carefree they are or something like that. And the Saturn person can be, yeah, the more conservative or the more holding on to the finances. Now, it's not going to be that way in every scenario, right? Like if someone's Saturn is in Pisces, the other is Venus is in Virgo, maybe it's the reversal. Maybe the Venus person is the more less spendy energy and the Saturn person is more spending too much, but there's a difference in the way that we express ourselves financially, the way that we express our heart, and there can be a lot of judgment with this aspect. But as difficult as it sounds, there actually is a lot of longevity to Venus Saturn aspects, and the opposition is probably the best of the hard aspects. I think it's easier than the square. It might even be easier than the conjunction because there's more balance here. There's more of like seeing in each other the opposition that you need. The thing about the opposition aspect is it's like that polarity, right? So the Venus person can really see the Saturn person as like the structure that they need. They can see them as someone who completes them. And that's part of the energy of where this fatedness comes from is because when Venus is in opposition to someone's planet, it's like we see, ooh, are you my other half, right? Are you someone that can be it for me? Because Venus naturally ruling the seventh house, it's like that natural opposition. We want someone to be the other side of the coin for us, right? And so with this opposition, there is that sense that this could be it. And there is a lot of care for each other if the Saturn person can realize that sometimes without meaning to, they come off as harsh or cold to Venus, and they can work on that. And then, the Venus person can know that they do care, right? And that's the thing about Saturn and Synastry too, is that we want to work out these hard aspects. Saturn doesn't want to run away from the challenge. Saturn wants to be better. So if Venus can just tell Saturn, look, this is how you're hurting me, this is how you feel harsh or cold, and this is what you could do to be better, then they can really talk about this. And vice versa, Saturn can tell Venus, here's what I think. And if they do it in a loving way, loving communication, then this can really work out long term because they want it to work. That's the thing about Venus Saturn Synastry, is that they both really want this to be it. They want it to be long lasting. They want to do the work that is inherent in these hard aspects. So it definitely can work out. And there could be a theme too with this opposition too, where there's things outside of them, like external forces against their union. That can be a theme of this relationship. There's karmic challenges. Maybe there's familial challenges, right? Like someone's family is against it. That's kind of could be one of the themes. There's something outside, something Saturnian, time, age, distance, something blocking this union from being together. Or it could just be that you feel a restriction in expressing your heart, because that's what this one does. It shows the feelings are there, but there's difficulty in expressing them because the Saturn person makes the Venus person overthink and feel insecure in the way that they love and the way that they express their heart. And the Venus person makes the Saturn person feel all the fears that are inherent in their Saturn placement by house, by sign. And it's a triggering thing. And that's what can lead to the not communicating that we love each other. And, with this aspect, you definitely can feel a lot for each other, but what can slow down the union from happening is that you can't share that, or if you do share it, it just doesn't come off right. It's one of these awkward kind of energies that we can have in Synastry where, yeah, it shows the feelings are there, but sometimes there's a restriction or a delay in expressing them. So I would consider this aspect a karmic aspect. I would consider this aspect there's something to be worked out here from a previous lifetime. It could definitely be long term. You'd want there to be other happier aspects coexisting with it, which usually there is. Usually there isn't just a Venus Saturn and then nothing fun else in a synastry. There's going to be this mixed with some more fun stuff, and then this can be the aspect that really makes the people stuck to each other like glue and wanting to make it work and working out the challenges. The opposition aspect will force you to deal with the challenges. And, the other thing with the opposition aspect is half the time you can feel like you're doing really well, and then half the time it feels really, really strict and cold and difficult, right? And that's kind of the nature of the opposition, is it can flip-flop. So when you're in that cold, hard period, if you can just recognize that, oh, we have this aspect, we're kind of meant to deal with these heavier themes, these insecurities are meant to come up. That's just our Venus opposite Saturn again. And if both can really understand where the other's coming from, Saturn can realize, okay, sometimes I come off a little too judgy, a little too parental, right? If Saturn can realize that, Saturn can want to make this work, and Saturn can do the work to make this better for Venus. So Venus feels more safe to open up like the beautiful flower that she is, okay? And even if the Venus is the man, right? Sometimes the Venus will be the man. So it really shows that we're working through parental issues. We're working through daddy issues with this kind of aspect, right? And the Venus person is really getting a sense of like what their father was like and how difficult that maybe that relationship was. And then they have this choice, they have this opportunity to heal that wound. And the Saturn person is also dealing with their own father issues as well, because Saturn is part of the inner parent in our natal chart. So Saturn has a choice. Are they going to be, the negative aspects of the way they were brought up and their sort of parental energy towards their sweet Venus? Or are they going to be the higher level of this, the loving father, the loving parent, the, more nurturing, caring energy of Saturn, right? They have a choice, and the choice they will have to make. But it's easier to just be in the unconsciousness, and then it's going to show up like Saturn being cold, Venus being hurt, Venus wanting to express themselves in their heart and feeling like Saturn is just going to think it's stupid or judge them, right? Sometimes it could even be that if this is an abusive relationship, Saturn is actually blocking Venus from socializing or wearing certain outfits, like I said at the beginning, or spending money. Like Saturn is actually controlling like that. You want to watch out for that. That would probably also show some plutonic hard aspects as well. But yeah, that could be like the ultimate shadow of this aspect, could be Saturn acting like that. And then the highest level of this aspect could be Saturn being the most like loving, supportive, but authoritative figure. The Saturn person is always going to have kind of an authority on Venus, and they have the choice to help or hurt them, really, with this aspect. So yeah, it's definitely a very interesting one to see. Venus Saturn aspects, Sun Saturn aspects, Moon Saturn, all they're so common in long-term relationships, and even the hard aspects, sometimes even more than the soft aspects, because Saturn is a planet that wants to work out these challenges and difficulties. That's just what Saturn wants. Saturn is the planet of karma, and when you have these tough ones, there is, if the rest of the synastry is promising, there's a need, there's a desire to want to work through these challenges, and it's parental issues, it's daddy issues, it's issues with authority, and issues of self-love and self-worth and financial things that will come up in this relationship. So yeah, I'd love to know your experience of this aspect. If you've had it in synastry, was it like this? Let me know in the comments. And thank you so much for your requests, you guys. Keep them coming, and we'll talk soon. Bye.